Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Catabolic Window. We've got a friendly face with us. We've got Ollie here. Say hello, Ollie.
How's it going, gang? You all right?
We don't know where Luke is. It's fine. If he doesn't show up, that's also completely fine. Um, I feel like it's been an absolute minute since we've last spoken, which we probably made the mistake of catching up a little bit off camera, but that's fine. I think if you don't mind me jumping into things, like the first thing I think we talked about. Oh, there's Luke. All
Oh,
right, fantastic.
there he is. Mr. Prep himself.
We are currently recording, mate. We're already
Why
going.
am I being violated already?
Welcome back, mate. It's
Literally haven't done anything to deserve this. It's outrageous.
all
All right,
love.
we've got all three, so we might as well go around and say how our weeks have been, and then I kind of want to continue that topic that we were talking about, Ollie, about doing shit in your 20s. But anyway, okay, right, Ollie, you're the
Harry,
guest. How's your
okay,
week been?
what the bullshit? Just get into the good stuff.
You want to get into? All right, fine. And wait, unless has anyone got anything worth talking about from their week this week?
No.
I was going to say, like, not too much, to be honest. Not that I can
Come
go
on,
into
all right, fine.
great detail. So, yeah,
So,
go on, Jack. Jack, you take us away, mate.
yeah. So we were talking about what Ollie's currently doing now, and what like I agreed what I'm doing now is probably not what I want to be doing when I'm 60. And I think that we kind of agreed that like you shouldn't ever really be doing anything in your 20s or your 30s that like probably most of that shit you won't want to be doing when you're 60, but also you shouldn't just do something because it's like that's what I want to do when I'm an old man. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think, yeah, I think you just need to, like, it's like the character arc almost. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like you need to develop yourself as a character kind of thing. And I think one thing Jack and I were speaking about is how like in your 20s and like maybe even your 30s, kind of like test the limit and like just like fuck around and find out kind of thing. I think there's this thing on like social media of like having it all like clued up in your early 20s and being like, oh, if I don't have my partner by 30 and I'm not married and I don't have kids by then I'm
Yeah.
behind. And like actually like getting it wrong, finding it out, and just like riding the wave and the process of it, I think is so important.
Yeah.
Like it's, I mean, it's quite funny because like my brother, for example, he's just turned 25, just moved in with his girlfriend, like probably like looking like marriage, all that stuff like down the line, like very kind of like the nuclear family kind of setup and stuff like that. And then like the career path I've gone down probably isn't necessarily that aligned to that, especially in the early stages. So like it's just really interesting to kind of see like the differences and like finding a good path can be a really great thing, but also like fucking around and finding out is also another great thing, I think.
Yeah, man. You got to see like how much you can work, and like I think I can't remember who the fuck says it. Someone feel free to interrupt me if you know who says it, but they were like in your 20s you have like the greatest capacity to work. Like you can just work and work and work and work and work. Like you can go out, you can come back on a night out and you can still come back and work. You can wake up after a night out or like after staying up late and you can wake up and you can work when you're in your 20s. So you might as well like put that to something. Like I think it's important to have that balance of like still enjoying yourself and like maybe go see mates, don't go out and get fucked every night, and don't be someone who just works all the time. But like if you're gonna like if you want to do something, do it in well not even in your 20s and 30s, do it as soon as possible, put everything into it, and then see what comes out of that, rather than being like I'm not going to be bodybuilding when I'm 60, so I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to do it now. Be the whammest in the fucking in the care home at 60.
Oh,
That's concerning.
yeah.
But like it's like it's the same reason that like I got a pierced eyebrow. It's like, oh, that's not going to look quite good when you're 60. I don't give two shits about when I'm 60. Like when I'm 60, I'm not going to be like, oh, thank God I never did anything because I'm not doing it now. Thank God I never got into bodybuilding or got a tattoo or got a piercing, because now that would look terrible. Like when you're 60, you're kind of already like you're going to have lived a certain way. You're probably going to have kids. You're probably going to need to be fairly settled. You're going to have a lot of responsibility. So you might as well embrace the fact that like you can do shit. Like be like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. Fuck it. And like do that stuff while you're able to, and like be a coach and work ridiculous hours like Luke's doing, like coaching and PT. You're not going to be able to do that when you're 60, mate. So you might as well do it now, you know?
there's a weird almost dichotomy there though, because it's like if you're 20 and you're working your ass off, it's like, come on, mate, fucking live a little, have some
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
But then if you're 30 and you're just living it up, it's like you're fucking sad, sort your life out. And it's like, well, which one do you want?
There is a balance though, because like I've got a mate who's like a real like workaholic to the point of like pushing people away. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna grind through my 20s. And I was like, thing is though, the way he's doing it, he's gonna grind through his 20s, get to 30, realize that he doesn't really have many mates because he's pushed them all away, and then be like, right, I'm ready to party, guys. And then everyone's like, we don't really talk anymore. So you do have to have that balance, but equally you can't just be like, when you're like, even when you're 20, you're going to have responsibilities, right? Like people around you and payments and shit that you have to do. But it's only going to increase with age. So you might as well make the most of it. Like, whenever people ask me about coaching and they're like, oh, should I do coaching? It's so risky. And I'll be like, do you live at home? And they're like, yeah. And I'll be like, well, what's the risk? Like, you already live at home. Like, your outgoings are probably like 200 quid a month on like gym and food, and that's it. So you might as well, like, it doesn't have to be coaching or whatever, but you might as well like try and push things. Like, I started coaching at uni because I was like, well, I'm already broke. I can't really get much more broke, so fuck it, you know?
And also like the biggest investment I think with like especially with coaching nowadays, I think is like it's the investment into yourself in terms of like education and stuff like that you're putting in.
Yeah, man.
But then in terms of like actual outgoings, my Loom subscription, like,
Yeah.
and like, do you know what I mean? Is it
11
like,
quid a month, that is, at something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly. Like you're paying 11 quid a month, like, and then as long as you got Google Sheets or whatever,
Mhm.
like,
Mate, if Google start charging money, we're so fucked.
yeah, that's what we could. But do you know what I mean? Is in like, I think actually like sometimes people will just sit there. Like the worst thing that's going to happen is people turn around and be like, firstly, it's such a cycle, isn't it? Like I don't know about you lot. When I first started, people were like, "What, mate? That's so cringe." Like, what you're coaching, and then it suddenly comes back a few months later, and it's like, "Oh, hi, mate. Yeah, can I have a program, please?" And it's
Yeah,
like,
I remember. So when I started coaching at uni, I was in sort of like a lifting club at one of the uni societies, and it's basically just a bunch of powerlifters. And I remember like quite a few of them fucking made fun of me, like, "Why the fuck are you coaching for?" And then like 2 years later, one of them is literally like one of the guys that made the most fun of me is then coming to me for advice because he's fucked it. Basically, I'm like, this is just hilarious.
yeah, it's full circle. I
It's
just think
it's
like, yeah, go on.
it's like, did you see George Osborne's story yesterday? And I know Jack, you posted about this, or I think you posted.
Go
I
on.
just saw, but he's basically like he's banging on, and yeah, it is a bit wanky, like DM me the word whatever sort of thing. And he's like, the best coaches don't have to market themselves or something like that. It's like, okay, but at some point you need to say that I can coach people and I have space to coach more people in order to have more people.
Yeah.
It's like looking at people at the Olympia level and assuming exactly what they're doing now is how they got there when we know that that's not the case. Like it takes a
Yeah.
lot more work to get somewhere than it does to stay somewhere, sort of thing.
Yeah.
The reason that Cal and Christian and whoever don't constantly say I have coaching spaces is because they're fucking full all the time. So they don't need to. They don't need to hammer the marketing because they're already full.
The thing that irked me about that though is it felt very disconnected, because like I don't mind George being like, "Oh, DM me the word muscle for whatever is cringe," because like, it is. I do it as well,
Yeah,
and
it's free.
it is cringe. But then continuing on to be like, marketing as a coach is a red flag, and like it's pushy, and it's like it looks desperate. That irked me because it feels very disconnected, because like I don't think he understands what marketing is, because his YouTube channel is marketing. And like I could be like, oh, posting every single week a YouTube channel about your bodybuilding and your coaching is so cringe and desperate, bro. Like just say you want more clients. Like it's the same thing. Like every story you post, every time you post on Instagram, if you really thought marketing was cringe, you'd delete your YouTube and your Insta, because those are like ways of marketing. And it annoys me. And like again, you talk about like Cal and Christian and like they don't need to push as much. Yeah, but they push in different ways. So like, you know, Christian Cow will still, like Christian in particular, he'll still post every show he goes to. He'll still post client progress. He'll still, you know, he held a podcast. He'll still go on podcasts. He'll still go to like coach conventions and like talk about that stuff. It's all marketing. Just because you're not saying like in a caption, if you want coaching, message me, doesn't mean it's not marketing. But that did irk me a little bit, that he's like shaming up and coming coaches for essentially like marketing.
It's also like a fine balance. Like, I don't know about you lot, but when I first started out, like during lockdown and stuff like that, I just did like so much. Like, if you want to get experience, like your best bet is just do it for free. Like, I did so many programs for free. Like, but actually, like through experience of that, and also like learning what works, what doesn't, kind of thing. Like, and then through the best marketing is word of mouth, being like, oh, so and so programming for this, it was really good, kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm guessing that is pretty normal rite of passage for you lot as well, or did you like go in and be like, I have value from straight away, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to charge people?
Yeah, I took people on for free at the start. Of course, I fucking did, because I didn't know what I was doing. I think you can consider something like salesy and sleazy if it's marketing and the thing that they're selling isn't what you actually get. Like if you say, oh yeah, it's going to be personalized check-ins with me, like bespoke programming, and you give everyone 4 times a week upper lower, even if they can train twice in a week, or if they're a 150 kilo female or they're a 250 pound guy, you give them the same program, that's fucking sleazy marketing shite, because you're saying you're going to do something, you're not actually doing the thing. Nobody says, oh, it's marketing-y or it's a bit cringe when, I don't know, fucking Couls like, okay, we've got 5 spaces for you to sign up to Pro Coach and we're going to do whatever the fuck, because, okay, he's got evidence that he can help people get their fucking Pro card.
Yeah. I think it's just very like, I don't know, it felt very disconnected, and it was very like, I don't think you quite understand that you're marketing constantly. Like, whenever you showcase a client doing well, that's marketing. Like, just because you don't slap a little text at the bottom saying like, hey, sign up here. And I think like we said, we all started off kind of like, you have to start off with like asking and trying to get clients. Like, you can't just be a coach and then be like, I'm not going to be a coach who markets, that's cringe, I'm going to rely on like testimonials. And then you turn to your client base of 0 and you ask them for testimonials and you're like, oh wait, hang on, I need fucking clients. Like, everyone starts off that way, and there's nothing wrong with it. Again, as long as you're not like overstepping the margin of like pestering people or cold DMs or anything like that, then obviously that's not okay.
Do you think cold DMing overstepping the mark?
You what?
You think cold DMing is overstepping? Because that's like a lot of what I did in the first in my early days. I can't lie. I'm gone. I'm up for a bit.
I did it as well, mate. I think probably as well at some point. Everyone does it, and you realise, okay, this is just on as fuck. Oh,
bit of feedback there.
This is good.
There we go.
What's going on? What the fuck?
Jack,
Right.
can you hear us?
Are we sorted?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
I think it was Jack.
Yeah.
Mate, have your headphones disconnected? Yeah.
Can you
okay,
hear me?
that's good. You sort that out. Ollie and I will talk.
Yeah, what we said. Yeah, mate, I used to send so many cold DMs being like, hi, my name's Ollie. Yeah, you're back.
Crash Posh.
Yeah. Wait, we're back. All right, go on, boys. Continue.
No, I was just saying that I used to send like DMs, like, so for example, because obviously I do a bit of lecturing for unis and stuff like that. Like, I DM their like uni sports pages being like, yeah, do you want me to come in and do some lectures for you? But equally, I think like, I don't know, like I personally wouldn't have shame in doing that, because like how I see it is like the worst thing they're going to do is say no. And like, but even through that, it's like, okay, well, you've potentially still got like made a connection there with in my line of work. It's like, well, in my sort of area, it's like you've still got that connection there. So then in future, if they need someone, they can reach out to you. I don't know.
Yeah, like, there's a big difference though between you like offering and saying, okay, would you like me to come in for a lecture, like helping them out. There's the same sort of thing as a coach saying, like, you know, just fucking thank you for the follow, mate, or if you're interested in I've got this free shit that you can have a look at. That's not the same as, this is the first conversation we've ever had. Do you want to pay me some fucking money, mate?
Oh yeah,
Like,
agreed. Oh,
same thing.
couldn't do that.
In
I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't say I charge X amount. Now you're gonna have a talk. It's like, but
yeah, exactly. I think a lot of the reason, like, George is saying something like that, and he's like, you shouldn't have to do this. I think part of the reason people don't say, I've got coaching spaces available, or if you're interested in coaching, this is what you do, is because they're scared that they're going to put that post up and no one's going to message them.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, it's like everyone's saying no. And it's I probably put some sort of plug for coaching in fucking 1,000 posts, and I haven't had 1,000 clients. You don't get one from every single thing. Like with PT, I'll fucking speak to 500 people in a month. I might have consultations with 20 of them, and 10 might sign up.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at the amount of people there, you're like, fucking hell, should you just not speak to people then? Because it doesn't get you very many clients. And it's like, well, what's the alternative? You don't speak to anyone, then you don't get any clients. It's clearly the worst outcome.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like a rejection. I think rejection is also a great teacher in terms of like, okay, how can I, again, going back to that marketing point of like, how can I market this better? Or like, and I think it's just that self-awareness of like, is it my coaching style? Is it my processes? Is it things like that? And just like the ability to like self-reflect on it, like, is really important kind of thing. And that comes back to that like self-learning point. And that's definitely something I've learned gradually through my time coaching 100%. Is like, and you kind of adjust and adapt your processes to work better. Because just putting up an Instagram story, unless you have 20 million followers, ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think coaching marketing, just as like Luke said, as long as it doesn't cross that boundary of being manipulative or overly kind of, propositioning people constantly of like who wants to sign up, as long as you're not just constantly like, I think as long as there's some value in what you're giving, like we all have conversations with people, and I guarantee when Luke's having conversations with like PT clients, it's not just like, well, it might just be chit chat, and there's still value in that, in giving someone like just a bit of chit chat. But also if people ask questions,
I walk through the gym now. If I walk in that gym door and I walk towards the stairs, fucking 20 meters, and I'll have 2 or 3 people just wave hello to me because I've spoke to them. Like, again, even if they don't pay me money, it's nice to walk in the gym and have people go, oh, hello, mate, you're right. It just makes it a better environment. Why the fuck would you not want to do that? Why would you not want to have just the odd conversation with somebody on social media, even if they're telling you that you're a cunt because you drink instant coffee, Jack?
But like, even if you're talking to people and they're asking you questions, you can still provide value. I think as long as like, it's the same with consultations. Like I've had like a billion consultations where people haven't bought or given me anything off the back of it, but it's still an opportunity for me to not just sit and market at them, but also be like, okay, let's talk about, if I was you, what we can actually do to kind of help this issue. As long as people are getting some kind of value out of it, well, for one, they're more likely to like sign up, but also it's not a waste of their time. And that's what's most important, is not wasting people's time. And like cold DMing, I guess it's a bit of a umbrella term. Like, it depends how you're doing. I think, Ollie, you messaging like companies and unis and saying like, hey, I can give you some free value here, I think there's nothing wrong with that. But if you said,
it's not the same going to a company as it is like an individual person as well.
Yeah,
I think.
But if you're saying like, but it's kind of the same as like, say it like, so I've got like a few guides out there at the minute, and there's a few people who I know who might benefit from them. So I will just cold DM them and be like, hey, I've got this guide. If you're interested, let me know. It's free, right? Because then you're just propositioning like, hey, I can give you this free value. If you want it, go for it. But then they can just always pie you off, and it's not that bad. But if you were going to like, say if you were going to go and you were messaging a university to be like, hey, I want to give a talk on this, let me know. But then if you also said, hey, let me coach your sports team, or something like that, or like, how many athletes do you deal with, and trying to basically like get sales. If you message someone asking for sales rather than giving value, I think that's where it goes wrong. Because if you're just offering free value, even if they're like, I see what you're doing and I don't want to give you any money, they still get value from it, and they still get time, they still get something from it. And I think that's what's most important, because then it's not scummy marketing, because you still actively done something nice to go out your way. The same way Luke saying hi to Miranda at the gym and talking about her son isn't scummy marketing. It's just generally being quite a nice person, you know?
No, 100%.
Yeah, like, and you can push it a bit too far as well. Like if you're trying to be like, say you're speaking to someone and they don't seem that interested, and then you like try and push it, you permanently put that person off.
Yeah.
Whereas I'll give you an example. So last week, I spoke to this guy in the gym. He's probably 55, 60, worked on a construction site all his life. He is the definition of fucking broken, mate. Like surgeries on both shoulders, surgeries on his hip, surgery on one knee that he's just had. The other one's probably going to need to be done in a couple of years. And he's complaining that all of this shit hurts. So I'm like, right, let's go and have a look at on the leg extension and see, can we make it feel all right? And he's like, yeah, that feels way better. I think I'm within my right to ask him if he's interested in PT.
Yeah.
Because I've just helped him with some shit. And at the time, he was like, actually, you know what? I feel like I'm doing okay. He stopped me in the gym yesterday and he's like, you know what, mate? Like, I need some help. I can't, it's not really working doing this by myself. And that's within the space of a week. Online, it might be, 3 months, 6 months while they're just watching your content or they try a few things you recommend. But if you feel like you're being salesy all the time, then you probably are. If you feel like you're not, then you're probably fucking all right.
Yeah.
The difference there is that you actually benefited him. It's not as if like it's not as if you said, "I'll give this a go on the leg extension. How does that feel?" And he's like, "Still crap." And you're like, "Anyway, RPT." Or you didn't just walk up to him and go, "I can help with that," and he's like, "How?" And you're like, PT. Like you actually were beneficial and useful, and so you can then go, "Oh look, hey, I can help with this. I've proved it to myself and to you. Why do we not just keep on doing this? Let's just keep this going." So yeah, I think it's the same thing with like, if you give someone advice, it's perfectly okay to be like, "Hey, if you did want more of this, this is something I do offer," and it doesn't matter as long as you're not pushy and you give that person a comfortable way of saying like, "Hey, maybe this is not okay," or "I'm not interested," then you're fine.
I think that's one thing I always open up my consults with. Is like, look, this is a two-way thing. It's a two-way transaction. Like, if you don't want to work with me, that's so fine.
I don't want to work with you anyway.
I make it very clear from like moment one of like, look, I'm not here to just grab your money and leave kind of thing. Like, it's like, I want you to get as much out of this as possible. And it's just having that willingness to be rejected and like that openness to like, hey, this might not be right kind of thing.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you the more relaxed as a coach you can be, like the better you'll come across. I think the difficulty is when you're in your early days and you're like, this client is the difference between me breaking even and not for another month, and it's very easy to get like ahead of yourself and a bit pushy. And what I used to remind myself of is like, if they don't want it, don't force them, because they're going to be a shit client and you're just going to have like months of headaches of like, why are they not listening to me, for them eventually to leave. And then if they request a refund because they're not happy with the service that's like the transaction that's gone on, then you haven't made any money anyway. You're just like, oh cool, I thought I had this money, actually no, turns out I don't. So there's no point bringing on, I guess it's kind of like dating. It's like, you don't want to date someone who's not that keen to date you. You don't want to coach someone who's not that keen to coach you. And when you start off the conversation on Tinder, it's always, "Hey, how's your day?" and not like, "Do you want to have sex?" It's the same thing with coaching. You don't jump to, "Let's have sex." You don't cold DM people, "I'm horny. Are you horny? Let's have sex." Like, you are like, "How's your day? How's your training? Whatever."
Yeah. It's got to be about something the person cares about as well. Because, like, someone might have an issue with their diet. If they don't care about fixing it and they're not seeing the negatives of it, then you offering to help them with that doesn't fucking matter. Like, one of the things the PTs here will say, for example, is, "Oh, that person's got terrible form. They're like a potential PT client." I'm like, well, do they know they have terrible form? Do they care that they have terrible form? And is it causing them any problems? Because I could walk over and say, "Right, mate, you're fucking doing that bench press awfully." And that's completely different to if I go over there, start having a conversation with them, and I'm like, "Oh, how's this feeling, mate?" And he's like, "Oh, fucking shoulders are in pieces." Then I'm in a position to say, I can help with this thing. If they don't care, then I just come across like a cunt trying to help them.
Yeah, exactly. You're just you're going to make people feel put down. Imagine you're just training along, or you're just going somewhere, you know, and someone comes in and says you're doing that wrong. You're going to have this issue, and you're like, but I feel fine. You know, it's a very weird thing to like put someone through. And I think, like you said again, you can only. I think people think of coaching as like, I don't know, you can snap up everyone. You can't. You have to find the right people, and the right people have to find you, and you have to find someone who has such an issue with whatever's going on, like that poor guy who's got all sorts of, you know, he's basically broken, like you said. Like, he's willing to pay you to teach him how to leg extend. Ollie isn't. He knows how to leg extend, so he's not going to pay you
Oh,
for it.
fuck's sake.
Right, so it's not a case of just being able to like nurture every single person you interact with. You walk down the street, you say hi to someone, you're like, he's going to sign up to coaching. Like, no, they need to. You need to be able to provide some kind of value, and the value that you offer, they need to value at the price that you charge. Some people might say, Luke, you're worth 25 quid to me, and some people might
Ouch.
say, Luke, you're worth 25 grand to me. This is fucking unbelievable.
That's
It depends. It depends what they're after. You know.
I think like looking at their why, I think is really important. You know, why they've come to you, and like actually like really trying to tap into that and understand that, and like understand that on the individual basis, instead of like going back to your point originally of like oh, 4 times upper lower, but they can only train twice a week, and they've got 6 kids at home, and they just only have time for 30-minute sessions, kind of thing. Like if you're just prescribing them so much, kind of thing, and they're like, but I simply can't do it, and then it's a self-defeating spiral. Whereas actually, if you could tap into something that works for them, and like having that client understanding, that's the biggest lesson like I learned off Matt Strong actually, was just like tapping into your client psychology almost, and like just understanding, well, what works, what doesn't, what ticks, what doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh mate, I was on Threads. Yeah, Threads is so good at putting like the fucking most clickbait shit so you have to go on the app on Instagram. It gets me every single time. But there was a comment on there, and it was this like fucking fitness influencer saying, if you've got a client that's not really sticking to the plan and not really getting any results, what do you do? Option A, just don't really care and keep taking their money. Option B, drop them as a client. And someone comments, how about option C, actually fucking coach them? Like, oh my God.
Fucking hell, man.
It's nuts.
Yeah, you've got coaches out there. The amount of times that like you'll talk to a coach and they'll be like, "Yeah, I've just got 1 or 2 clients who they're just never going to do that well." Like some coaches are like giving up on clients. You ever interact with people like that where they're like, they've got 1 or 2 clients and they're like, "Oh, they just don't put in as much effort." They'll like, they don't try as hard, they don't put in as much effort. They're just not going to do as well as the others. And it's like they've almost come to terms with that on that client's behalf. I'd be like, does this client know that you're talking about them like this? Have you said, hey, you're not putting in as much effort as other people? Have you talked about like, are they maybe okay with that? Because if their trajectory doesn't align up with where they want to be, you should probably have that conversation with them and help them either adjust their trajectory or adjust their goal. Some people, like that person with the 6 kids who can only train twice a week, they might be like, I want to be Mr. Olympia, and you have to go, okay, I'm really sorry, this is not going to happen. But equally, if they're like, I want to get abs, and they're just like unable to lose any form of, like, they're unable to control their diet in any form, they're just not trying, even like when they have a day to themselves, they're just ordering pizza after pizza, then it's worth being like, okay, this isn't an issue with goal, this is an issue with action, and you need to change your actions. But some coaches I talk to, it's like, dude, do your fucking job. Like, what? You can't just give up on this client. Like, actually help them. Even if you said to them, hey, it comes across as if you don't actually give a shit about your goal that much. I think for a lot of people, that's gonna like spark a bit of a fire. Or if you say, hey, based on your current trajectory, here's where you're going to be in 6 months instead of here, you know, and like just say that to clients. Almost just being honest. A lot of the thought process that coaches have, if they shared with clients, I think their clients would listen a lot more. You know, being like, I know you're not doing this on purpose, but here's where you're headed. So,
Oh
is
yeah,
this
mate.
an
I
option?
do that all the time, where I say like, you know what, I'm actually undecided on what we should do here. Option A, option B, which sounds better to you? They're going to be a pretty fucking good gauge of that.
Yeah.
But to bring this conversation almost full circle, I think the clients that tend to be some of the quote unquote worst ones, like, you know, they're not listening, whatever, or you're struggling with that, tend to be the ones that have come in off fucking one conversation from a cold DM or whatever it be, because they haven't followed you for that long. They don't really know what you do, how you work specifically, and your values behind things. Like, they've just seen, okay, someone's got a fucking great result. And there are, like, one of the PTs here was saying, like, all my clients get the results they want. What, every one of them? Really?
Yeah, that's a bit crazy.
Are you sure? Because no matter how much you try, there are some people that you genuinely can't help. And part of that's on you as the coach. Part of, because even if it is, say, you know, they've come in after one message or whatever it is, and they're not then doing the fucking work, well, that's kind of on you for not looking into that person enough and making sure that you're a good fit to work together. And you need to take as much responsibility for that as possible. But even you can have a good coach and you can have a good client, but they just don't like quite gel together, and that's okay.
I think, and also I think this, like, I decided to deliver this talk a few months back, actually, like on like high performance athlete like psychology, and like the key thing that it comes down to, I think, on the client basis, though, I think, is like it's all a choice. Like the foundation of it has to be that identity of alignment to that goal. You know, you have to make that active choice. As the, like, I think to be that good client, you first of all have to make an active choice of, like, I want to achieve this. I think it can be quite hard when you're trying to. They're like, oh, I kind of want to do it, but like you've got to have that concrete why and that concrete identity of, like, right, I'm going to do this. That's sometimes where I'd say I struggle, when it's like you're saying you want to do this, but do you actually want to do this?
Yeah.
And with coaching being a luxury, it can fall into the realms of people just throwing money at a problem and hoping that it sorts itself out. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God, the amount of times that I say hiring the coach doesn't solve it. You have to use the coach. Like, people come to me, hey, I'm really busy, man. I'm struggling with my routine. You lay out a plan. Check in, missed. Check in, missed. You finally get hold of them. Sorry, man, I've just been so busy. You're like, bro, what am I here for? Oh yeah,
You
the
can't
plan.
mind read. You
Yeah,
can't mind read.
they'll be like, oh, the plan. You know, you finally get them on a call. You walk them through the plan, and then they're like, hey, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. And you're like, this took you 10 minutes to flag up to me. It's been 2 weeks. We could have had this issue solved in about half an hour. All you need to say is, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for me. You know, the amount of times people sign up, hey, I can do 4. They try to do 4. Actually, no, I can only do 3. And that's fine. But like, it doesn't take that long to flag up that issue. So, oh my God, I say that. That's like, I feel like that's my fucking motto with some clients. It's like, you can't just pay me and I give you a plan and then you ignore the plan, because you're just in the same position. Like, you're basically self-coaching at that point, and self-coaching is what led you to the point of needing a coach. So you need to take some of my advice, and if my advice doesn't work, then just come back to me. You don't need to have the solution as the client. Just run my advice. Does it work? Yes, cool. Does it work? No. Feed it back to me. It doesn't work? Okay, then I'll come up with something else. I think some clients also feel a pressure to, like, have some kind of solution already. Do you know what I mean? Where, like, you give them a training plan of like 4 days. They clearly can't do 4. 3 works better, and they're like, I can't quite do 4, but actually, like, maybe some weeks I kind of can, and I'm gonna try, and like, I've tried to rush my way through it, and it's like, no, just say you can't do it, and like, I will solve that issue for you. You know, they'll be like, oh, it's a really busy week, I don't know how to handle it, and I'll be like, well, lucky you hire me to handle it for you. So I think some clients need a reminder of, like, look, you're paying a problem solver. You don't need to solve these issues anymore. Just come and talk to me, and I will solve them for you. Yeah, that used to drive me nuts, when you get clients who just, like, join and then don't do anything, and then expect everything to be solved, and they're like, why isn't anything fucking solved?
Mate, nailed the topic. No one's got anything to say.
Yeah, that's when you know it's a fucking good one. Do we have any topics? I'm going to quickly go through my Insta stories and see if there's anything that I've kind of flagged up recently.
I don't know what you guys spoke about before I got here, because I was late as usual.
Yeah.
But what have you been up to, Ollie?
Oh, mate, So obviously, what I was saying to Jack last time we caught up was when I was in Turkey, wasn't it? That was
Yeah.
that was a lot. That was August 2020. That was August 2023.
Man, so over a year. Jeez.
Yeah. So what have I done? Yeah, obviously we're doing my little masters at Durham, which is it was a busy year, chaos year. Yeah, it was rowing pretty hard there. So yeah, like training was pretty mental for that. Didn't get as lean as before, which is probably a good thing.
Definitely, mate. Jesus, definitely.
Yeah, thank God for that.
I still can't believe you didn't get on stage, mate.
Mate, maybe one day, and then yeah, over summer I wrote my thesis, and then I've started working on the 1st of September. So yeah, which is going well, bringing its own set of challenges for sure.
And what are you doing now?
If I told you that, I'd have to kill you.
Okay.
Yeah, I work for the government. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. So yeah, just dealing with a bit of an injury at the moment, which is not ideal. Carrying a bit of load and twisting my back and basically potentially herniated a disc, which is
how much load? How much?
It was 50 kilos. 50 kilos. Yeah. And just like literally, just body went one way, hips went the other way, and it just did not end well. So dealing with that injury at the moment, which is fine. So I got some scans and that stuff like that coming up. So yeah, had one on Monday, which was okay. I think like they didn't seem too concerned, but they've got me in for another scan. So hopefully I'll crack on with work as normal. If not, it's going to be a year-long rehab and then start again what I started in September, which is fun, but I hope it's not that. So we'll kind of wait and see on that one. But yeah, like works. It's weird, like being in the world of, formal tax-paying work and work somewhere else and just like it's good fun. It's definitely good fun. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, and then still coaching, still delivering a few talks in there. I'm working with a company as well called Yellow, which is basically like the module we've literally just released today is actually like looking at health and well-being for the corporate sector, which is quite cool. So like it's trying to kind of like beat out the bullshit basically in and around health and well-being for corporates. Good. And making it more comprehensible for kind of like the general population as opposed to your Mr. Olympia. We're actually looking at those that like, we don't need like exercise to be this massive thing of like, oh, you've got to go and run a marathon in order to be worthy of doing exercise. We're just looking at the small actions and stuff like that. So, are we instead of, like getting the bus to work, can we walk to work? It's looking at those small changes we can make on the individual basis, and hopefully that kind of can make a positive change. Which sounds a bit airy-fairy, but actually I think it is really important, like looking at the small action to create big action.
Mate, agreed. Because we've all coached people who work in offices. They'll get like 2,000 steps, get back at like 6 or 7 p.m. You've basically got like no time. They'll sit and watch TV, maybe order takeout because they can't be asked to make food, and then it's like that's their day, like most of their life for decades. It's crazy.
Exactly. And so like by implementing that small action, actually we can really change.
It's like a great example of, are you familiar with the Pareto principle?
Go on.
Where the like 80% of say the positive outcomes that you're going to get on something, or 80% of the resources, or 80% of the money, or whatever the fuck, comes from the smallest shit. Just like how, like, say the top 20% of people have most of the fucking money in the world. Like there's a big difference between what you need to do to get, fucking somewhat decent, and what you need to do to absolutely be the best. Like just that, okay, making sure that you've got a protein source and some fucking fruit and veg in your meal is most of the way there to getting a good physique, compared to just fucking eating a takeaway. Like we could say, okay, that's a good thing to do, is getting some protein, getting some fruit and veg in each of your meals. A better thing to do would be, okay, sticking to a certain amount of each thing, and that might just be 4 meals a day, protein source in each, carbs in 2, veg in all of them, whatever the fuck it may be, like a specific number of those things. And then the best thing you could do would obviously be weighing out the macros and all of that shit, but you get most of those gains from doing the very first thing. you get a few more for doing the second thing.
Yeah.
I think barrier to entry for fitness is quite like it's quite high, and I think probably we're not helping too much because we're targeting more advanced people. And I think whenever an industry goes very in depth with like what it has, like the pursuit of building muscle at the extreme is bodybuilding, right? But building muscle is an incredibly healthy thing to do if you do it naturally, and if you're not, doing it at the expense of like, well, general health. But like, generally, if you look at like all cause mortality for people who live a healthy, active lifestyle, the more muscle you carry naturally, the longer your lifespan is, the longer you're able to stay stronger, the better your injury prevention. Like, I think was it Paul Standall who talked about like if you can teach a grandma to deadlift, she's not going to blow out her back like leaning over to pick up a pen or tie her shoes, because she can lean over with like 30, 40, 50 kilos pretty comfortably and rip that off the floor. So, mate, 100%. I think there's a lack of like, there is a big barrier to entry with fitness, and I think it puts people off, and you kind of end up with like your average person's interest in fitness and general health is so ridiculously low. I think most people view anti-aging as like creams and hair vitamins way before they view it as like, maybe I shouldn't sit down for so long, maybe I should drink more water, maybe I should walk more places.
Yeah.
That's something that I've massively changed my mind on, like coaching wise, in the last couple of years or something like that. Like since I
Yeah.
started, the amount of detail that I give someone, like even just from a consultation, I can get a pretty good gauge of how interested is this person in the details of shit. And for some people, it will be the fucking broad outline of, okay, this is how we're going to get you to eat a little bit less, and this is how we're going to get you to move a little bit more, doing these couple of things. And somebody else is, okay, these are the specific exercises that we're doing. This is the rep scheme that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing this intensifier. The reason we're doing this exercise and then this one is because they give a shit about that. But the guy that's 100 pounds overweight just wants to know how he's going to be less fat. And me telling him about the specific resistance profile is just going to bore the fuck out of him. And he doesn't care. And that's okay.
Everyone knows morbidly obese people want really big iliac lats, mate. Come on now. Clavicular pecs and iliac lats. They're all over it. They're all fucking over it. Forearm extensors, mate, come on.
This would be a good one, actually, Ollie, because obviously you say last time we had you on was like a year ago. Is there anything you've changed your mind about coaching-wise in the last year?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What
Yeah,
have I changed my mind?
that shit.
Yeah,
Say
boys
again.
nailed it.
What have I changed my mind on?
Doesn't have to be a big thing, but just a slight.
I think like
Awesome.
definitely like patience as well. I think patience probably more on my end actually. Something I think again, like as Jack said, like in terms of at the beginning, you're like, why aren't you buying into the plan? Oh my god, what's going on? Kind of thing. Like, and actually, definitely more patient, 100%. As I said, like definitely become more self-reflexive in my process, 100%, and fine-tuning that. I've definitely enhanced my ability to be emotionally aware of where the client's at. Definitely like been more willing to kind of like tap in and try and understand that better. I think that's actually become a real asset. And like just if they've come to you and they've had a really bad week, like knowing when to kind of be like, no, you've not had a bad week, you've had one bad day, and you've kind of just let that ruin your week.
Yeah.
And then like learning when to have tough conversations and when not to. I think definitely. What else? Yeah, just like those are probably the main three that I've definitely kind of like kept an eye on and observed the change. Definitely.
I think that about tough conversations is a very good point. I think people tend to fall into either babying clients because they're terrified of them leaving, or having absolutely no patience and just immediately, like when a client's in a bad way, like, nah, you've just fucked that, mate, try harder. Like there is a little bit of balancing. There's a little bit of like bringing people up to a baseline and then saying, okay, if we're being honest, here's maybe what's gone wrong and here's what we can do. But you need to be able to, I think, like you said, recognize what's going to be most beneficial to that client, what their ability to take criticism is like. If you've got someone who's going to take it really personally, it's not a good idea to give them feedback that they're just going to get pissed off by. That's not what you want. So I think, yeah, like knowing how to read your client is really fucking important, mate. It's good to hear that you're you're feeling improved in that regard.
Definitely. And especially like with my current like work and like my role as a leader, like that's it's so important. Like I've seen such a like transfer over kind of thing, like the in terms of leadership, like knowing when to apply the carrot and knowing when to apply the stick.
Yeah.
It's a fine balance, definitely, but like actually the ability to transition between the two, whether it be an arm around the shoulder and be like, come on mate, like we got 5 miles left, let's keep cracking on, or it's like, mate, come on, we got 5. Like there's just ways of speaking to people kind of thing, and like, yeah, it's just learning to tap into that one and tap into the individual better. I think is like it's a skill that you can use no matter what line of work you're in, whether it be coaching, whether it be the line of work I do, whether it be in business kind of thing. Like it's such a great skill, and I think emotional intelligence has got to be at the fore of what you do there, definitely.
I had this sort of thing with the client last week in his check-in. So he checks in and he's like, calories during the week were really, really good. And then at the weekend, I struggled with the appetite a bit more because I was out, And just sort of in the check-in, and I was like looking at it, I'm like, actually, mate, I disagree. Calories in the week weren't very good. Like you nailed it Monday, Tuesday. And then there you were like 600 under where we need to be. I wouldn't consider that to be really good, considering that we're struggling to gain body weight at the moment. And he's like, actually, like that was useful to hear. And then this week he's checked in and he's been like, okay, I was under by 100 or whatever it means. This is what we can do in order to bump that extra 100 up on each of those days. I'm like, that's like fucking what we need to do. Me just saying, yeah, mate, they were great. That's all good. And then him actually in 6 weeks, actually, Luke, I'm going to leave coaching because I'm not really gaining the body weight that we set out to do. And, it might be easier in the moment to almost let them get away with it, but they hired you to help with a thing.
Yeah.
And if that means calling them out on some shit every once in a while, that's the right thing to do.
Don't be a yes man. I think that's the big lesson I've learned, like with work. It's like, if you're a yes man, you'll get eaten up.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like if you're like, yeah, you're so good, oh my god, keep going, king. It's like, what do you mean? Like, oh, and then you check their like graph like a few weeks later, and it's like, oh look, I've lost weight when I wanted to gain 4 kilos or whatever. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, and that is your fault as a coach for you not calling them out on their shit and just being like, mate, you're just not adhering. You're just not trusting the process.
Yeah. You've got to know how to give that criticism. I think people fear clients leaving. Like Luke, that client, most people probably would have babied in and been like, yeah, okay, maybe, we're a little bit under, but that's still good. That's still good. That's still okay. I think people don't know how to give that criticism of like, and again, that's why it comes down to that client's why. If you say, hey, look, if your goal is to gain weight and you're still eating 600 calories under, we need to look at what's causing this, because we need to stamp it out as quick as possible. But I think the onus there is placing it on not being like, I can't believe you fucked it. I can't believe you've done this. What have you done? This is terrible. To being like, what's caused this? Why are we undershooting? Is it time? Is it food selection? Did you wake up late? Did you, are you not prepping meals ahead? Is it that you had, like, a bunch of shit for breakfast and then you just kind of felt pretty sluggish and not really hungry for the rest of the day? Like, something has caused this. What's caused this so that I can prevent you from doing this again? And then the focus is on advice and helping them, rather than being like, how fucking dare you do this? Sort it out. Right. I
And
think
a good way to do that is like a shit sandwich, in the sense of like, okay, yeah, mate, good job. Calories were a bit high this week, so what we spoke about last week has worked. Equally, they're still a little bit under. Here's what we're going to do to work on it. But well done for recognizing that and having a more accurate perception of what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And then, so I've gone, mate, this is great. High five. Okay, little slap in the face, and then high five again. Let's go.
But that's what you got to do, though. Knowing how to. I think a lot of coaches don't know how to pull clients up. Like, they'll either go for the approach of just not doing it, or just being way too harsh, and like not recognizing anything good that they've done. You ever hear coaches be like, "Oh, I never give my clients compliments. If I've given them a compliment, that means they've done something really impressive." Bro, just say that you're not nice to your clients, man. Let's celebrate their wins. Like, I don't know why you're holding back on nice things to say until it really matters. Like, you're going to burn a lot of people out psychologically from that. because they're going to be, you know, a little bit leaner, and you're not going to go, great, you're a little bit leaner, keep on going. You're going to be like, not peeled, keep going. Like,
Exactly.
what?
You still have normal hormonal function. You're clearly not doing enough. Clearly not doing
You're
enough.
still able to get erections. Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Food is halved.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the thing. You need to know how to give feedback, you know, to your clients. Like if I've got a client who, like, if we're like, I've got two clients in a photo shoot prep, you know, if they get leaner, I'm going to be like, well fucking done. You're already lean and you got leaner. That's hard. We need to keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep on pushing, but well done for doing this, you know. Like, or if someone has like, if they're like, oh, cardio is really hard, I wanted to stop, I'll be like, well fucking done for keeping on going, but we do have to keep this up. Like, there's nothing wrong with patting a client on the back. I don't need to wait until the shoot day to be like, yeah, well done, whatever, anyway, onwards. Like, I'll never get coaches who are like, oh, I don't blow smoke, I never blow smoke, I don't even give compliments, bro. It's like, you don't need to blow smoke, but like, give
blowing
people...
smoke is compliments when they're not really earned.
Exactly, but I think some coaches take it too far, and like, I mean, I've definitely heard bodybuilding coaches do it where they'll be like, oh, if I'm giving you a compliment, that's rare. That's rare. Or people be like, I've been with my coach for 4 years and I just got my first compliment. And you're like, that's not avoiding blowing smoke. That's just being a bit of a prat and just sitting on nice things to say. Like, you're allowed to encourage people by saying that they're improving. You don't have to be like, oh my god, mate, you're wicked peeled when they've lost a kilo. But you can still be like, kilo down, good job, well done, let's keep going. Like, that's okay. You don't need to pat them on the back every week. But if they've had a shit week, or they're already lean, they're already hungry, and they've stuck in it for another week, tell them fucking well done, man. You know? Like, if you know what they've done is hard, congratulate them. I don't get it. Maybe I'm on my own.
What I think's even harder to do than like calling clients out when they're bullshitting you a little bit is admitting that you fucked up, like, to the client. Do you get what I mean? Like, actually, mate, looking back, we probably could have pushed you a little bit harder at the start there. And it's, to be honest, it's on me why it's taken us an extra month to get this fat loss phase done.
Yeah.
Or, you know, admitting that to them, but they'll respect you a lot for that. Like, for them to say that, for the guy who they perceive to be is the expert saying, yeah, we could have been better here. And by we, I mean myself, is a big fucking thing to do, because nobody seems to be able to admit that they're wrong these days.
To be fair, I had that actually with a client. Like, he came to me and he was like, look, I want you to like kind of like test the limits of like what we can do, kind of thing, in terms of like, he was almost like, because obviously where my niche is kind of like the more like the hybrid / endurance space as such, whatever that wanky term.
You were hybrid before it was cool, mate.
Yeah. The Make-A-Wish Nick Bear. Honestly. But like, yeah, like he literally was like, yeah, I want you to like see what we can do, kind of thing. I think I gave him like, it was this rancid session. I think it was like 25 by 90 seconds with like a minute recovery, like grim.
Ooh.
Like, it was horrible. It was funking basically. And like,
how long did that take overall then?
What was that?
Over an hour?
Yeah, probably about. Yeah,
yeah, that is over an hour easily.
Yeah, red line. Like, it's horrible basically. And like, he came to me after the session. He was like, "Oh, like, yeah, my knee feels a bit twingy," and I was like, "Oh no!" And then next week on the check-in, yeah, like my knee's fucked. And like, basically, I just kind of like felt the guilt of like, shit, I've like injured this guy, because I've completely, like, it was week 4 of the 6-week block, and I was like, right, week 4 we can kind of like chuck in the highest shit. Week 5 we'll bring him down, and then slowly bring him back up on the 6th week. But he came to me and was like, yeah, I'm fucked. And literally for the next entire block, he couldn't run. And I was like, I just felt so guilty because I'd fucked him. But I just turned around to him and I was like, look, like, actually, like, that's completely on me. And like, okay, yeah, maybe we could have like done some more prehab stuff, but also like, and I felt so guilty, but equally, he was very understanding. He turned around and he was like, mate, like, I'm the one doing the exercise. It's not your fault. But equally, like, so I don't know, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like, the ability to hold your hand up and say, yeah, I fucked up, is a very, very important skill. 100%.
Yeah, man. I think as long as you show like, here's what we can do and learn from that, you know, like, there have been times where I've had to be like, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. You definitely made the right call there. And then in future, I've got a client, Pete, when we first started off, he gave me a lot of feedback. and we were dieting, and it was a lot of like, I might need a break, I might need to pull back, I might need less volume. And I was like, nah, I think you'll be fine. Like, I think you're just kind of, you're just dieting. And he like got absolutely trashed. And I was like, okay, no, definitely, I'm going to listen to you. And now I listen to him much more. And I'll be like, okay, if you're saying this, I'm inclined to believe you. And then we might have a discussion about like, if he's saying, hey, I can do more, I can do less, I might say, okay, but how much, But then I've also got clients where, like I had a client in a photo shoot who he was struggling with, like dieting a little bit and kind of like managing hunger. And he was like, I think if I do this, it will help. And I was like, yeah, sure, mate, that sounds like a wicked idea. If you think that's going to help and it's come from your own brain, give it a go. We gave it a go. Exact opposite effect, did not help at all. Really awful idea. And I was like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have listened. We were like, maybe we shouldn't have listened to you. It was, so he was pretty much there. And across 7 days, he trained 4 days. And it was like we were going to do 3 days of rest day being at maintenance, and then 4 days of like the deficit being a bit harsher. And the goal was to have like a bit of a much, much, much slower rate of loss. But he was struggling with like having to do cardio every single day. He was struggling with feeling super tired and lethargic every single day. So I thought, okay, let's make your rest. And he was like, the idea is let's make rest days a bit more restful. The food would actually be higher on a rest day than a training because he said I'm busier anyway. We pulled volume down so it wouldn't really affect performance, and it would only mean 4 days of cardio. But we gave it a go, and of course, as you can imagine, he just got double battered on training days, and we were like, okay, yeah, no, this was not the idea. This was not the play. The check-in that week, he was like, you shouldn't have listened to me, and I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have listened to you. But sometimes sometimes you have to make those mistakes because equally, if I hadn't listened to him and I'd have said, no, I just want you to take a diet break, in the diet break, he probably would have been like, I feel good. We maybe could have, done what I said. And then come shoot day, we could have said, if I was like, oh, we could have come in leaner, he might have gone, oh, you should have done what I said. So sometimes you have to try things to know they don't work and compromise a little bit. But I'm sure, sometimes you have to listen to the client. Sometimes you don't have to listen to the client. It depends.
Agreed.
I've killed the topic. Let's go. How much time have we got left, boys? We've been going 57 minutes.
I'm free, like whatever, so I can crack on. I can do whatever.
I'm not free.
I do need to shoot off pretty soon, to be fair.
That's all right. That's all right.
Mate, thank you for coming on again. It's always a banger.
Mate, thanks for inviting me back on. I always love it. Always love to spend some dips.
We'll do this again in December next year.
Well,
push it back.
Mate, I'll be able to tell you what actually, Jackie's still recording, or
I am currently. Do you want me? We'll wrap it up.
Sign up and then
we'll do it.
The gossip.
that's all right. I'll continue on the gossip once we finish recording.
All right. Thank you for coming on, Ollie. Is there anything you want to kind of promote or push at all?
Just, I mean, like, I'm not gonna give you some wanky marketing of. Send me a DM saying performance, and I'll give you a free.
No, do it.
Do it.
So send me a DM saying performance, and I'll give you a free program. No, I'm not giving you a fucking free program. Pay me. Nah, just thanks very much. I really appreciate it, and yeah, looking forward to being on soon, and we'll hopefully make it a bit sooner next time. But yeah, lots of love.
Oh yeah. Thank you for your time, mate. I'm going to finish the recording now.